Welcome back to this channel. This is Trinity Storm, and you are watching What If Naruto's love broke him before his spirit did. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
The pink-haired beauty, whose head is currently resting on my arm, and I cuddle up to her. She cuddles up to me as well. As though to mimic my movements, she was so close that I could smell her hair and feel her breath on my chest. She stirred slowly when I kissed her on the head. With her eyes half open and a tiny smile starting to form on her lips, she cooed drowsily, "Hey there, Naruto-kun." I smile at her without even trying to say it. "Sorry, Sakura-chan, I didn't mean to wake you." She stepped forward to give me a quick kiss on the lips before returning to her sleeping position, saying, "It's okay, as long as I wake up to your smiles." My hand, which is free and not pinned beneath her, reaches up to her face as I laugh at her adorable antics. I feel the smoothness of her skin as I slowly draw lines on her cheek. I'm just so happy right now. I'm alone with the person I love, right next to me. I cup her chin with my fingers and sigh happily, unwilling to pull away. I bring her face up to mine and plant a kiss. She must have been very alert because her hand slowly moved up my back, giving me goosebumps as her smooth skin touched mine. My pinned down hand is already resting on her back as I slowly move it around her body, bringing her closer and closer to me as I release her chin. We seem to enjoy each other's company for hours before I break the kiss. As gently as possible, I nibble on her lips. It seems like I want her to be closer even though she was as close as she could get. As the frustration begins to build, I resist the urge to dig my nails into her skin. Despite her lack of self-control, she must have felt the same way because she dug her nails into my back. I roll her onto her back and slowly raise myself above her, kissing the side of her neck. She lets out little gasps as I keep kissing her neck, which eventually transforms into a moan as we unite. Every time we move, our breaths shorten and our skin becomes greasy with perspiration. She whispers my name after spending minutes staring into her eyes. I give her a kiss without breaking as she groans against my lips, and I absorb every inch of her, the scent of her body that I simply cannot get enough of, the flavor of her breath, the sweetness of her soft lips, the beauty that draws my eyes to her, and lastly, the feeling of every inch of her all over my body. I closed my eyes once more, but something was different. All of the sensations I was experiencing just a moment ago have vanished. I can still hear her breathing as she struggles for it, and I can still hear us moving together when I open my eyes. I realize that I am no longer with her. All of a sudden, I'm watching as the person she gives a tight hug transforms. The familiar dark hair that stands up at the back replaces the blonde, spiky hair slowly. As my chest tightens more and more, I realize. I yell when she whispers, "Sasuke-kun," into his ear, and he grunts in response despite their noises and her voice as she calls out his name rather than mine. I dash to the door and attempt to open it. Every sound makes me panic, and I struggle mightily to even grasp the doorknob in an attempt to open it. "Naruto-kun," I stammered. I slowly raise my head from the doorknob to look directly ahead. I take a few sharp breaths and then slowly turn around. Her eyes are fixed on mine, but I see the same scene with him on top of her, watching the emotions swirl in her eyes. I feel like I'm drowning in them. She lets out a little sob from her throat and a tear slips from her eyes. Her expression briefly changes to one of regret and melancholy. She is interrupted as her face returns to its pleasurable expression and she begins to moan once more. "I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun," she begins. I wake up at that point. Sitting up and yelling, sweating so much causes my clothes to stick to me. I run a hand through my hair as I slowly reorient myself to my surroundings. I begin to struggle with the pain in my chest, clenching my jaw and gripping some hair at the back of my head. I accept the fact that I'm by myself in my apartment and that neither she nor he are around. I had a bad dream. I bury my face in my hands and close my eyes. It was all real, but I had a nightmare. Even though I wasn't present when they did it, I was aware that it took place. How could I not? She was the one who told me, after all. Konoha, this is my village, the one I cherish, and the one I would gladly defend with my life. A melancholy smile creeps onto my lips. This way of thinking makes me laugh. This is a village with nothing but painful memories. You shouldn't be looking at it with adoring eyes. Even if his remark is accurate, I disregard it. He will never be able to comprehend my feelings or my identity. The people I truly care about still alive in this village. Regardless of what has happened in the past, I also want these people I care about to be happy, even if they have hurt me once, twice, or even more than that at some point. Like I said, this is my village and I'll be glad to keep fighting just to keep the smiles on the faces of the people who live here. I get up and clean myself up. I take a deep breath and leap from the old man's head that is carved on the mountainside in a matter of seconds. I'm racing from roof to roof in the direction of the Hokage Tower. I've already had more than enough sleep, and this vacation is just giving me too much free time. In time to avoid the glass that Tsunade Bachan threw, I jump out of the window. As I leave her there, I genuinely chuckle, just as Ero Sennin would have. leaving through a window and observing her expression change from one of rage to irritation. I know that I am capable of ending the entire situation with a friendly competition with her, something that the previous Jiraiya-sama was unable to do. She returns to her desk after waving goodbye. I return the wave and turn to go to the gate even though there was some shouting and some profanity and name-calling. I got what I came for. I managed to get another mission, at least it's the kind that will let me handle it by myself. Even though it's only C rank, I reach the gate just in time to witness a couple walking hand in hand as they return from their mission. I acknowledge their presence with a nod and a slight smile. She waves with her free hand and says, "Hey Naruto-kun." Her eyes convey her hurt and guilt. But her smile is small and uncomplicated. I can tell by the look in those eyes that she is still punishing herself for what transpired. With a tiny flick of my hand that holds the scroll for my mission, I return her wave, praying that my expression doesn't convey the worry I have for them both. I doubt I'll be able to handle her crying in front of me once more. Doby. That makes me sigh and chuckle a little. It's funny that he looks away after calling me that, but he's still Sasuke. He believes he conceals it well enough, but I've been a ninja for years and an apprentice to the renowned, if strange and silly, Sannin. So I know what to look for and have trained my eyes to detect things more quickly than before we fully pass one another. I nod once more. As I exit the gates, I can feel their gazes following me. I understand their feelings of guilt and sadness over this rift that resulted from everything that transpired. I am aware that even though they are content in each other's arms at night, they would beat themselves up before falling asleep. Even Sasuke's guilt, which he constantly tries to conceal when we pass each other, is something I am aware of. I'm aware of everything, and I know they're just waiting for me to let them in, but there's nothing I can do about it. I'm still in too much pain right now to try to mend our relationship. Without looking back, I wave them off before jumping up to the trees and starting at full speed toward my goal. Things will be fixed as soon as I'm free of the pain. All I can hope for is that it will arrive soon enough. All I can hope for is the strength to battle and overcome my emotions. I let out a sigh before muttering a line that I took from a close friend. "How troublesome," I responded. "Even if it means fighting against my own feelings, I would fight to keep the smiles on the faces of people I love." He then departs for a different mission. I let out a sigh. He had just left on one of his before I set out on my mission. And now that I've been away from Konoha for a week, I see him out once more. The knucklehead has a history of going on missions, but his current pace is risky even for him, particularly now that he is taking missions by himself as a result of recent experiences. I begin to chew on my lip. Sasuke shows me that he understands my uneasiness by giving me a hand squeeze as we make our way back to the Hokage Tower. I lean on him and smile up at him. On our way there, we take our time and don't really hurry. Tsunade-sama has been making every effort to keep us apart since what transpired, but I don't blame her. I am aware that by preventing Naruto from seeing us together, she is indirectly aiding Naruto's recovery while also expressing her disappointment with me for what I did. Guilt tightens my heart as I squeeze Sasuke's hand. I would injure him once more. Even though our meeting at the gate was entirely accidental, the sadness still comes, and I do my best not to cry. Sasuke comforts me by putting his hand up to the side of my face. I give him a warm smile and cuddle up to his hand. Naruto used to perform the same act for me, and I never imagined being happier. At the time I was mistaken. I'm 100 times happier now that Sasuke is doing the same thing for me. We would have been able to claim that we were at our happiest if it weren't for the guilt that consumes us both and the depression we can't get rid of for hurting Naruto. Before pushing the door open, we release each other's hands. We salute the Hokage as we stand in front of her. Her eyes are half-lidded and her mouth is arranged in a line as she looks at us both. We unwind and give her our reports. After she sighs and waves her hand, she begins to read them, pausing only to take a sip of her tea. Without raising her gaze from the files she is reading, she asks, "Anything unusual that happened?" I respond first. She looks up at me with calculating eyes and says, "Nothing unusual really. Lady Hokage, the mission went off without a hitch." I used to speak to her more familiarly before everything that happened, but I'm currently putting some distance between us out of shame. She gives a nod and resumes her reading. I guess she thinks the distance is better for now also. There were signs of Akatsuki movement near my target location. It didn't seem like anything big, so I chose to leave them alone. Except for Sasuke, everyone in the room tenses up to gather all of the Biju as the goal of the S-Class missing nin organization Akatsuki before they were able to remove Shukaku from Gaara. We had to deal with Sasori. We tried to keep our guards up even though the last word we received was that they were currently ignoring the Kyuubi in favor of all the others. Were you able to recognize them? Affirmative. Kakuzu and Hidan were snooping around. From what I've learned of them though, I'm guessing they're out on one of their bounty hunts. His familiarity with them makes my eye twitch. There were rumors that the Akatsuki leader approached him covertly to recruit him after he killed Orochimaru, before Naruto could reach him. The leader actually provided him with information about each member and their designated responsibilities, which came second to locating their targeted Biju. As a show of trust and confidence in him should he join, the leader was willing to provide him with additional information about each member, including their skills, present location, and health. However, Naruto happened upon him by chance and beat him before he could accept the offer, bringing him back to Konoha. The thought of Naruto returning on a piggyback with an unconscious Sasuke made me shudder. By the time Naruto crossed the gates, the entire Konoha was waiting for him because the guards had sent out a message as soon as they saw them. I started crying when I saw them. While I was thrilled that he had successfully brought Sasuke back, I was also alarmed and saddened by Naruto's state. His clothing was ripped, had numerous large holes in it, and nearly all of it was stained with dried blood. He noticed that everyone in the gathered crowd was holding their breath. He gave Sasuke a little shake, and the unconscious man groaned. The crowd erupted in laughter as he turned to face us with the largest smile we've ever seen. Sasuke-sama's return. And Naruto did it, were shouted everywhere. Every ninja in attendance was simply relieved and grinning at the blonde. The other people his clones brought in went unnoticed. However, the festivities were interrupted when Naruto instantly passed out. 3 days passed before you woke up. I blinked, but Shizune-san's offer of tea snapped me out of my reverie. It looks like the conversation may take a little longer. I listen intently to the conversation, shake my head, and smile as I thank her. When you say near your target location, they were in a residential part of the village when I saw them, heading for the market area. As it turns out, they went inside the same tavern where our client was supposed to meet me. Were they able to see you? I can't be sure, but they were talking with the barkeep when I came in, and as per the client's protocols, I wasn't wearing any clothing linking me to the village. Any information you were able to pick up? Not much. I was listening closely to the client, and when we were done, they were also finishing up. All I was able to pick up was that the person they were looking for was no longer in town. I thought they might be looking for a primary target, so I asked around to get some information on anyone from the village leaving or a high-profile person that passed by recently. From what I gathered, it's safe to say that they weren't chasing any Bijus at that time. I didn't realize I was holding in my breath until I said that last sentence before giving us our next instructions. Tsunade-sama simply looks at Sasuke while leaning back in her chair. Thanks for the hard work, Sasuke. You have 3 days of rest before you'll be called on again as per usual. Should you feel 100% within that time frame and are willing to get back to work, you can freely come to my office, but before anything, please find Kakashi and report to him your recent encounter with the Akatsuki. He may want further information about it. After that, have him report to Anbu headquarters to relay the information as well as his suggestions for any actions. Yes, Hokage-sama. He bows and walks away. He will be waiting for me outside the building, though, because I know him. She actually gives me an apologetic smile at that, and I can't help but smile back. Sakura, unfortunately you can only have 1 day of rest, and I mean really rest. You need to resume your hospital duties as they're completely swamped right now, and I might need you around the weekend to help out with training some new medic nin recruits. I let out a sigh and then stroked my hair. It's okay, Lady Hokage, I'll come in the hospital the morning after tomorrow. She then returns to her papers and says, thanks, you may go now. As soon as the doors close, I leave the room and sprint outside. I'm going to need every minute of the time we have left for our rest days, so the sooner I get to Sasuke, the better. I put my arm around his, and he looks at me. I take a deep breath and rest my head on his shoulder. It's going to be a busy week. I've been on this alleged B-rank mission for a week. 4 days of waiting for the wagon to be loaded with supplies and prepared for transportation, 2 days of traveling non-stop at full speed, and 1 day of scouting out the bandits' headquarters before coming across this location. I exhale deeply as I get out of the bed that has been assigned to me. I try to look out the window for any indications of the backup I requested 2 days ago, but I'm unsuccessful. I approach the desk and look in the mirror. The client's provision of supplies for this mission was fantastic, but that's the only thing for which I'm grateful. I change, unwrapping the garments from the scroll and examining each one individually. It appears that I will be dressed as a nomad, complete with a staff, a dark gray cloak, and a simple white shirt and black trousers and sandals. Finding the identity to go with the clothes was a little more difficult than actually changing into them and sealing my own clothes in the scroll. It was absolutely necessary to conceal the whisker-like streaks on my cheeks, just as it was to alter the color of my eyes and hair. I decided to change my eyes from blue to green. Not the same dull green as Gar's, but more of Sakura's brighter green, after dyeing my hair a much paler yellow. I scoff and give myself a mental slap for making that comparison with a shrug. I choose to call myself K and put the henge in place to finish my disguise. I entered this town with a name and my disguise in place, and I struck up conversations with everyone. At first, they were a little wary and suspicious of me, but they quickly warmed up to me, especially after that girl smiled at me. Rose, She was the most compassionate person in the town. The only girl in the town that I liked had a slender body, a normal but attractive face, and short red hair even though she was a total stranger. I feel like I know her much better now since she was the most approachable. I made the decision that she would be my go-to person for information and updates on what was happening here when she turned out to be in charge of overseeing all of the town's operations. I knew it was the right choice. Since they were evicted from their previous residences over a year ago, the town was only recently constructed. The tower in the middle and the walls enclosing the entire area were new additions, and the bandits were hiding out in their old home in exchange for the town's residents cooperating with the bandits by supplying them with supplies. The men from the town were captured and used to build their fortress project. That's how I get inside, and that's what the wagons they're getting ready for. I must have gone over the client's information on the scroll for the 100th time. I'm still unsure if my luck in landing missions like these is good or bad, and I still find it hard to believe. The objective, which was easily C-ranked, was to recover a scroll from a small band of bandits. However, the client claims that the bandits were skilled enough to defeat the fighters from their clan, so they upgraded it to B rank. This mission was essentially a rank to S rank because the client didn't bother to disclose, and I'm not sure if they knew or not, that the bandits were actually a small group of missing nins, ranging from low-level chunins to low-level junins, and that their hideout is a fortress. I settle into the chair, resting my chin on my hand and supporting my elbow on the desk. I open the map I created using all the information I was able to get from the locals, but I'm sure it won't be much use because the bandits would have already remodeled some of the buildings. At least the paths would be roughly the same. The issue I'm attempting to resolve is my escape route. I don't really need the map to find my way inside. I chuckle to myself. My escapes have always been the kind that draw a lot of attention, but I've always been good at sneaking into safe places and avoiding detection. I could do it even if I had a big bag of noisy items. I used to enjoy it because I was receiving attention, having a lot of fun, and practicing the chase when I was younger, but in this case, the chase would be risky, particularly for the locals. When my chin falls off my head, I realize that I was sleeping. I got up, put everything away, and sealed the scroll before putting it back in the desk drawer. This activated the seals I had put inside the drawer to make sure no one tried to take my belongings. I yawn and stretch as I make my way back to the bed. I lay back down and think about Rose once more as I wait for sleep to take over. It was so easy to talk to her, as if we had known each other since we were young. She was intelligent and occasionally tough, but occasionally her feminine side comes out. Even though I feel at ease with her, I can't help but notice how familiar everything feels. I am unable to pinpoint the precise location or time, but I am aware of this sensation and the glances she has been giving me. I close my eyes and prepare to go to sleep. After another yawn, I have a feeling that tonight will bring me dreams. When I open my eyes, Sakura is looking directly at me. This was right after I returned from the Aero Senin training, as I recall. Aside from exchanging pleasantries and comments about each other's progress, it was just a friendly greeting. I've dreamed about this meeting numerous times, but none of them have been like this. There was nothing romantic. No tearful reunion where she told me how much she missed me. No embrace and run where she said she realized how important I was while I was away. Although I must admit that I was a little let down, it was still wonderful to see her. I blink, and we're outside the base where my friend Gaara was taken by the Akatsuki members. After retrieving Gaara's body from that Deidara jerk, we hurried to Sakura's location to ask her if she could help my friend in any way. When we got there, Sakura was severely injured in their battle with Sasori of the Red Sand. Thankfully, she has no cuts or stab wounds, but I notice a few bruises here and there as I examine her up and down with concern on my face. She appeared worn out and exhausted, but other than that, she was fine. She shrugs and smiles at me, and while I'm glad to hear that she's alright, I still cannot get rid of the thought that I may have lost her. Looking away from her, I turn my head and find myself staring up at the sky. I turn to see a wounded Sakura using her chakra to heal me. Captain Yamato tells me that I allowed the Kyuubi to take control in order to beat Kabuto and Orochimaru when they refused to tell us where Sasuke was. I immediately get up, ignoring the sharp and throbbing pains all over my body, to ask her what happened to her and who did it. I was so ashamed of myself that I forgot everything in an attempt to fulfill my promise to Sakura. I didn't consider the possibility that, even though I had succeeded in locating and reviving Sasuke using that method, it would have been in vain if I ended up killing her and everyone else. I look shamefully at the floor as I draw my legs closer together to rest my elbows on my knees. We're back in Konoha when I look up and see Sakura standing in front of me. She was fidgety and nervous, which was not like her at all. She gave me a shy smile while apologizing with her eyes. She apologized to me for putting pressure on me because of that promise, and she assured me that it would be alright if we let it go because she would be trying her hardest going forward to move on. I take her hand and pull her into an embrace as she turns to go. telling her in a whisper that I want to see her happy no matter what, so I'll be keeping my word. We just stood there, me hugging her and her letting me hold her after she gave me a little nod. The pain in my chest is beginning to become intolerable, and my breath becomes more rapid. I struggle to hold on to this memory, but everything changes and vanishes, leaving me to float in a never-ending white void. All of the missions we completed as the new Team 7 under Captain Yamato then flashed before my eyes, seemingly in a blur. We recalled how Sakura would scowl less and less after each of the times we went out to find Sasuke came to an end. It seemed as though she was gradually killing her feelings so she wouldn't care, not because she was gradually getting over her sadness over not bringing our teammate back, but I thought I stood up for her because, like Sai, she would lose her genuine happiness if she killed off her feelings. I stood up for her, and as we completed more missions, her appearance gradually changed even more. I could tell she was still in pain, but it was an emotion I had never seen before. She would gradually smile more for me. She began to be gentle with me and would laugh at more and more of my antics. When I asked her out to dinner, she began to flush, and she would even become anxious when we were by ourselves. Sakura's punching me to the ground after we ate out, then picking me up and carrying me bridal style to my apartment, blushing all the way, and then teaching me about how babies are made via first-hand experience was the first time I realized she was falling for me because I didn't really understand how the other sex would actually react when they're in love. She fell in love with me, so forget about that. From the moment she punched me to the ground until we, finished up, I just lay awake, staring at the ceiling with my jaws hanging. No matter how amazing that night was, she pushed my arm from my side, but not before rolling off me. While I was still in shock, she looked up at me while resting her arm across my chest and her head on my arm. She pulled my face to look at her anxious expression and asked me if something was wrong. So I suppose I upset her by being brain dead. I asked her my final thought before she got up to sock me, because I'm a smooth ladies man. No more ramen. She laughed incredulously, and then suddenly she was laughing aloud by the time she's done, wiping the tears from her face. I've finally regained complete control of my mind. Is this all true? Are you sure about all of this? She simply gave me a quick glance before planting a kiss on my lips. It was a long-lasting kiss. I was so engrossed in the passion that I couldn't even keep track of the seconds that passed. I'm sure, Naruto-kun, I love you, thank you so much. She then gave me another kiss, but this time we remained together even better. I waited until we resumed, this time taking part and ensuring that she finishes up as well before breaking it. We slept together, still in each other's arms, after I kissed her forehead and said, I love you, Sakura-chan. As the final memory vanished to make room for the subsequent ones that flashed by, I could feel my eyes welling up with tears. In response to Suna's requests, we went on a mission where we infiltrated a small town to locate and capture a missing nin. Sakura and I entered as a married couple, and we undoubtedly performed the role flawlessly, so it was unforgettable. We were supposed to look into a lead on Sasuke once more, but that mission was a complete failure. She was grinning as we walked hand in hand home. I once surreptitiously entered her hospital room to give her a soothing massage. The arrangements we were making to live together, meeting her parents for dinner, eating dinner with my godparent, and seeing Lady Tsunade herself as a guest. Looking for an apartment. Next came the C-rank mission that took me to the Akatsuki base, where Gaara died, and it was there that I would, of all places, meet Sasuke. When I half-dragged Sasuke to Konoha, I saw her sitting on the ground, crying. When I woke up in the hospital, she was curled up next to me. The fight against pain, the Jiraiya death news. I knew where it was going, so I closed my eyes, but it didn't help. The pictures were still vivid in my mind. Those long, slow-crawling days when she works to get all the injured back on their feet and I work to recover all the dead and injured around Konoha. I would literally live off of Sakura's smiles, touches, kisses, and hugs during those days. She became quiet and a little aloof during those 2 weeks. She requested some time from us that day, claiming that it would be unfair to me because she was too busy to spend time with me. The day she formally ended our relationship, claiming that she needed to find herself amidst Konoha's wreckage and feeling totally devastated by everything that had transpired. I could relate to that because I was going through the same thing. She won't acknowledge it, but I know she knows that I'm going through a lot more hardship than she is right now. So I couldn't understand why she wanted to end the relationship so she could escape it all, but I didn't ask her any questions. I simply assumed that she was the more intelligent one and that I was just being slow as usual. In the 2 weeks that followed, she would always give me a guilty look when I saw her. She confronted me that day, sat me down, and admitted that her love for Sasuke was the true cause of our breakup. She had sobbed and expressed her regret to me countless times. She told me she didn't know how it happened and broke down completely. She was just so confused that she asked if I could ever forgive her and if I could wait for her because she still loves me right now. I gazed at her, exhausted and anxious from her job, her obligations, and probably all of her guilt as well. It didn't make me angry. I felt sorry for her because I love her. I drew her in and gave her a strong hug. I suppressed the tears that threatened to fall. I gave her my response while holding her. Don't worry, I understand. I forgive you, and no matter what happens, I'll always be here for you. I explained to them that I could understand her decision to pick Sasuke over me, and it was true. I told them it was the truth and that I was happy for the two of them knowing that we could all still be friends. I knew I could handle the heartbreak. When I returned, she was waiting outside my apartment. As she approaches me, I see that she has developed a brand new habit of chewing on her bottom lip. Naruto, there's something I need to tell you about, something I've been hiding from you because I just know that if you found out, you're going to hate me. Furthermore, I couldn't handle it. I was startled awake. I felt a tear slip out of my eyes as I blinked the little sleep that was still in them. Did I just cry myself awake? I chuckled at how foolish everything was. I let out a long sigh and then grunt to get going. I sat up and ran a hand through my hair, feeling oddly at ease. When I glance out the window, I see that people are already occupied. They were actually much busier than they had been previously. I pull out my mission scroll and put on my clothes. I prepare myself for battle because I sense that there is some tension in the air and I know that something important is going to happen today. I remove the kunai, shuriken, and explosive tag supply packs and place them in the pockets of the gray cloak that is given to me. I store the scroll and one final pack in a secret pocket beneath my shirt. I seize my staff and disassemble it, exposing the blade concealed within the wooden weapon. After sheathing the blade, I take one last look at myself in the mirror to make sure my henge is still functioning correctly and add a bit more chakra to prevent dispelling it. While in the middle of the enemy base as I exit, I see Rose yelling commands at everyone, so I go up to her. Good morning, Rose. I smile at her, and she smiles back without thinking. Good morning, Kei-kun. What's with the commotion? She looks at me anxiously and says, oh, the supply carts are almost ready. In an hour or two, they will be leaving. She still appeared concerned, but she assured them, don't worry, I'll keep them safe. I look at her inquiringly. You're really going with them? For some reason, I start to feel uneasy, but I smile at her and tell her, don't worry, it's just a few hours away. I'll be back as soon as we deliver the supplies. But as she looks at me, guilt etched on her face, my smile disappears. As I say, could you ask how Ugi is doing? I feel a wave of realization. Okay, don't worry, Rose, I'll ask them about him. Who's Ugi though, if you don't mind me asking? She begins biting her bottom lip. Now I know why everything was so familiar. He's my husband. It's her, it's the same thing as with Sakura. I grinned foolishly as I strolled around town. I'm accustomed to people staring at me, but they still give me strange looks. Even though I dismiss them with ease, I still try to stay away from them when they appear, so I head for the woods. However, I don't delve too far because the supplies won't be loaded up for more than an hour. The last hour was excruciatingly long, so I sigh after a week of waiting for anything to happen. I begin to question how I've managed. I even begin to doubt whether I should have followed through on my plan or waited for backup. I start to wonder why I didn't sneak in. It might have been a lot easier if I just infiltrated their base via my sneakiness. It being a fortress be damned, it's not like they can detect me anyway. I don't know that they can't detect me. So, you can freaking tear the entire place apart, easy. Yeah, I could, but, afraid that your little kitty will break out? No, not really. So what were we afraid of again? Too many enemies? Nope, come on. We've taken out S-class Nukennons. Hell, we even took on a small group of S-class Nukennons. And all of them were maybe around cage level. Yeah, well, they were actually the same person with just multiple bodies. Hey, that didn't make it any less dangerous, Tibeo. Okay, that's it. I can take you going completely fucking bonkers, but not you regressing back to your retarded idiotic self. Ooh, someone's in trouble. Hey, I'm not retarded. It dawns on me then, maybe a bit of an idiot, yeah, but I think we've grown out of our retarded phase, yeah? Wait. You mean I've been arguing with myself, and not with you, Kyubi? Like I said, you're going completely fucking insane. I laugh sheepishly, hoping my tenant understands why. I guess I really am. So, why didn't I just sneak in again? I ask. You needed the vacation? No I don't. Yes, you fucking did. You needed to relax. Being insane and completely frustrated does not mix well. Seemed to have worked for you. I'd have thought you liked it when I lose control. And since when did you have such a potty mouth? It would be fun if you let me out a few fucking times, but with your current state of mind, you would have infected me with your stupid crazy and then we'd be even more out of control. You've completely lost me, and you still haven't told me when you started cursing a lot more. Forget it. It's kind of funny, hearing the Biju curse. Guys, focus here. Kind of like that we would have been running wild and free, but we won't be fucking enjoying it much because we'd be spending too much time in your fucking head, arguing about stupid and idiotic things. Right, okay I guess. So, it was you who talked me into coming up with this plan? We fucking fought about it while you were freaking scouting out that small, stupid town. You moron. I didn't think it was fucking possible for your idiotic brain to turn even mushier, but you're just that fucking unreasonably unpredictable, aren't you? Jeez, and you call me frustrated, still wondering about the cursing over here. Fuck you, you fucking batshit crazy, retarded imbecile. I think you're the reason for his cursing. Hey now, no need to point fingers, asshole. Why don't we just claim the responsibility for this, yeah? After giving it some thought, I nod in agreement. I wait for a response, but nobody comes. I turn to return to the town, shrugging, but when I see 7 figures in my path, I stop in the middle of my stride and freeze. My brain finally realizes that they were not a threat to me after a few seconds of catching up. Your reinforcements came at just the right time, huh? Will you fucking shut the hell up? My newly arrived help might think I'm talking to them, or they might think I'm acting as crazy as the Kyuubi say. So I bit back my response. I sigh deeply as I glance at the new team to see exactly who they sent to assist me. I register their faces with a long whistle. That's some scary reinforcements. Regardless of my perspective, it's simply too absurd. A 2 squad team led by an experienced Jonin is one thing, but sending a team of geniuses led by a highly experienced Jonin who is regarded as a genius himself is quite another. Talk about being overpowered. The silver-haired man was the first to say, so, we've heard from Tsunade-sama about the situation, but I'd like to hear the details from you directly. His one exposed eye, which is also the only portion of his face that isn't hidden, wrinkled in that smile. The Sharingan's Hitaki Kakashi, better known as Copycat Ninja Kakashi, is the son of the White Fang. He is well known throughout Konoha. He completed the academy at the age of 5 and received his Chunin vest a year later. He is also well known throughout the continent for having copied more than 1,000 jutsus. In addition, he served in Anbu and rose to the rank of captain. He has more experience than anyone else here, and he may even be the most powerful, albeit by a small margin. They all exchange knowing glances and ask, "Where's Bushy Brow Sensei?" That indicates that there is a problem. That strange, eccentric taijutsu expert will not turn down the chance to join this formidable force. Kakashi Sensei has never been good at making up excuses. He was sent out to another mission just before we were assembled. Pineapple Head stifled a yawn and grumbled, "Troublesome, can we just get over this so I can go home and sleep?" The first person in our generation to ever receive Chunin was Nara Shikamaru. Although he wasn't as strong as anyone here, he is unquestionably a genius. With an IQ of more than 200, he is an excellent strategist and may have the best leadership abilities among older generations. With the possible exception of his own father, unfortunately, he lacks the motivation to work hard at anything he trains himself, but he simply wasn't interested in moving up past his current special Jonin rank. In addition to being the leader of his own 3-man cell, he is unquestionably the team's second in command. The green spandex wearing ninja strikes his signature nice guy pose and the group sighs collectively. Shikamaru-san, that is a most unyouthful comment. Although I too would like to finish this mission with all the power of our youth so I could once more train alongside Guy Sensei. He says like his idol, Bushy Brows Sensei, Rock Lee, also known as Bushy Brows, is a genius of hard work and a formidable taijutsu expert. I have the impression that Lee is more than people realize. Perhaps because of his insane training. Despite not being able to use advanced ninjutsu, he was able to become a special Jonin and is strong enough to be promoted to full Jonin. The pale-eyed, long-haired Jonin beside Lee stated, "Lee is right, Naruto. It's best to finish this mission quickly. Hokage-sama is getting worried as you've already exceeded the deadline for this mission long ago." Even their family's main house commended Hyuga Neji, the prodigy of the Hyuga clan, for his proficiency with the Byakugan. His mind is cool and collected, and he is so intelligent and knowledgeable about their clan's methods that he was able to replicate the main branch's covert methods on his own, since he is currently being taught and trained alongside Hinata-chan by the clan head, Hyuga Hiyashi. His issue of not having a formal teacher in their gentle fist style has already been resolved. Okay. I sat on the ground and distributed the mission scroll and the information and map scrolls one had managed to create, automatically reciting what I had discovered about the situation over the previous few weeks, since I've been repeating everything to myself since my time in the small town. It sounds like monotonous droning. They squat down and listen intently to everything I say, following my example. The mission was supposed to be simple. Retrieval mission, C class. A small town where a clan was living in was raided by bandits, and among the stolen items was a scroll that belongs to the clan. They say it's an important scroll for them, but not for any others since it was only a scroll for family history or something. The thing is, what the clients never mentioned was that the bandits are actually a group of ninjas. From the looks of their scratched headbands with different symbols, they're newcannons. As usual, Shino is able to highlight all the questionable aspects of the mission. So either the clients did not know, or they just chose not to disclose that information. It might be that they really did not know, or they are hiding the fact that they do. Why is that? Maybe it is to keep the rank as low as they could afford, or that scroll is something more and they want to hide that fact. No one would dispute that Aburame Shino is a prodigy of his clan. Even though he wasn't publicly praised as such, he was also composed and strategic. And given how he constantly controls himself and only moves and speaks when necessary, he could even be regarded as a drone. He was elevated to Anbu captain when I last heard from him. HN Uchiha Sasuke, the Uchiha prodigy and another Anbu agent, perhaps because he was a Uchiha. He had always been the most gifted member of our generation. Nevertheless, he was hailed as a genius by all. And the Sharingan was helpful. He has been making a lot of effort to win back the trust of the village ever since I convinced him to return to Konoha. He was promoted to Jonin and accepted by Anbu as a field agent and as part of T&I, so I assume he earned it. Actually, now that I think about it, all three of their cell members are supposed to be in Anbu. Hey, aren't you supposed to be in Anbu? Sai responded to me by saying, we were pulled for this specific mission, although none of us were certain if Sai was simply born with talent in every way. His training with Anbu root, since he could remember, undoubtedly gave him a significant edge. He has a special set of jutsus, is strong and skilled, and can control his emotions when necessary. A real shinobi. However, Sasuke and Captain Yamato have been reassigned to Anbu ever since we got him back. That only supports what I'm saying. How come 3 Anbu agents were permitted while a Jonin was removed from his mission? Additionally, one of them is a captain in the Anbu. I shake my head and push these ideas out of my mind for the time being, at least not yet, and not right now. I don't need a distraction. I'll concentrate on our mission, which is still in progress. Okay, so the small group consists of roughly 15 ninjas. From what I've been able to count, there may be about low-level Chunin to mid-level Jonin, but I wasn't able to determine who their leader was or what they're really up to. The reason I asked for reinforcements is because of this. I grabbed the 2 maps and placed them next to each other so they can see what I'm attempting to demonstrate. The group took over a town and had the townsfolk work on turning it into a small fortress. All the males and those strong enough were taken in to work on building the surrounding walls and the spiral tower in the middle. This is the map I've managed to make with the help of the townspeople, but it's got to be different inside since they made a lot of changes. To show the effect, I flattened out another map I had drawn and layered it on top of the first. These are all the changes they've made that the townsfolk saw last. The wall completely surrounds the town with only 2 gates. The larger gate leads out to the main road, while the smaller one leads to a road going to this place. They all follow along, nodding to indicate they understand, as I point to the other map. This place is where the remaining townspeople were left and where I've been spending my time waiting. From what they told me, those few people the missing nins took are also hostages, so that these guys will cooperate with them. Their job is to provide the supplies for the ninjas every 2 weeks. A few carts carrying supplies are delivered to the fortress carrying more than a month's worth of food, or newly made weapons. If the supplies stop coming, the missing nins say they'll be executing their hostages. As he looked at both maps, Kakashi-sensei appeared focused. So the enemy group is within a well-fortified and well-supplied base, and they're all highly trained ninjas with hostages. And it's highly likely that should anything happen within the fortress, like say an intruder manages to sneak in and steal a scroll, no matter how insignificant it is, this place might be placed in danger. Knowing that Shikamaru won't overlook any of the information, I give him a nod as I waited for a question. I examined each one. When I realized they were all staring back at me, I stopped feeling proud of myself. What's wrong? I look at Kakashi-sensei and say, well, we're waiting for you to tell us the plan. I cough before I speak, blinking foolishly as my brain processes what he's said. Right. Okay, so I've been trying to find a way inside the place without alerting any of the enemy, but the best way is to enter along with the wagons. I've been acting as a wanderer when I strayed into this place, and ever since, I've been earning their trust so they would let me be part of the escort group. Once they see that I'm strong enough to do some work, the enemy will be taking me prisoner. Hopefully, they wouldn't suspect me of anything and leave me with only a small guard once we're far from the others. That's when I was going to start looking for the scroll, and then reinforcements were going to be protecting this place. I have high expectations for them and hope they will approve of the plan I have been working on for a long time. It was Kakashi-sensei who first raised his voice. He gives me a grin and I easily return the smile. Sounds simple enough. So, Shikamaru, anything else? Why do you always ask for my opinion? You know it's very troublesome for me. I try not to laugh at how Shino's tone didn't even slightly change when he reprimanded Shikamaru. Why? It is because you have been appointed as second in command. You would have been in charge of this operation, but that you declined. Why is that so? Maybe because you're too lazy to order us around. He gives me a bored look, but I can still sense the accusation in his gaze. Right anyways, we've got too big of a group to just be left behind in protecting this place also. I'm a little concerned about the hostages they have inside that fortress. Hey, yeah, I guess I forgot about that. So what we're going to do is leave 3 to guard this place, while the rest will help out Naruto once Naruto is inside. Those outside will be working on getting inside as well. With as much noise as possible, this will be a distraction, but that doesn't mean they won't really be trying to get in during this confusion. Naruto will escape his captors. Free the prisoners, find the scroll, and get out. He pauses to gaze at each of us before he continues. We nod in agreement. So that's the main plan. Naruto goes in and takes the scroll. The rest of us will do our best to secure the hostages as well as this place. Any changes to the plan will be shared via the radios we have. We won't be giving Naruto any, as he might be inspected upon entry in the field. When there's no time for me to relay any orders, Kakashi will be taking command. Shino, you'll be left in this place. Spread out your bugs as far as you can while still being able to form a blanket around it to detect any enemies lurking around it. Understood. Sai, you and me will be protecting the area between this place and the fortress. You'll be a lot closer to the small town though, to give support to Shino ASAP when needed, and since you can outrun me, you'd still be able to reach the fortress in time to provide assistance should they need it. Okay, Kakashi, you'll be with Sasuke. Lee and Neji can use his Byakugan to scout out the inside of the fortress, as well as to keep watch on Naruto once he's near the prisoners, or near the place that you think they're holding the prisoners. Give the signal to the others. Try not to kill any important looking ones from their side, as we need to find out what their true intentions are. After explaining the situation, he begins gathering the scrolls and maps. I scratch my head, perplexed. What? But that's not part of our objectives. Was this the rationale behind their dispatch? As he gets up and hands me each paper and scroll we were using, he responds, we need to find out if their presence here is going to be a threat to Konoha. If they are, then we'll kill the rest of them, and the one we manage to capture will be brought to T&I by Sasuke. I take everything from him and put them all inside the mission scroll, shrugging. He smiles as he begins to stretch and concludes, oh, and one more thing, try not to damage the fortress too much. Nobody could see why he wanted the place to remain intact based on the appearance of everyone else. I ask the question that I believe everyone was thinking about because my curiosity won out. Why? That's just going to make it a lot more difficult. He shrugs in response and turns to leave. The others shrug their shoulders and jump to the trees, positioning themselves in accordance with Shikamaru's strategy. When we reach our destination, we make sure that the foliage completely conceals us. We only see the fortress that Naruto has been describing. We are unable to locate any indication of the town in the center of the clearing. Only a few floors of the tower are visible from the top of the walls that enclose the entire area and rise so high that they tower over the trees. The walls have a few holes in them, probably so the soldiers can see outside, but the interior is too dark for anyone outside to see inside. There is a 15-meter wide clearing between the town's surrounding woods and the walls that protect it, and every inch of it is probably booby-trapped. One of the gates is the only entrance, or, since there would be no cover, walk on the walls while trying to stay clear of patrols without an inside informant. This would be impossible, but fortunately, we have the Byakugan. Neji, time for a little surveillance before the wagons arrive. Try to look for a pattern for the patrols so we can time scaling the walls without notice. It'll be one of our ways in. Before the veins near his eyes and temples start to swell, the Hyuga prodigy nods and glances at the walls before wiping it from my face. I give myself permission to smile a little. Neji deactivates his dojutsu, closes his eyes, and stumbles back. That isn't possible. What's the matter? Kakashi, we have a problem. This is definitely not good. We certainly did not account for this in our calculations. Naruto claimed that every ninja he had encountered was, at most, a mid-level jonin. However, no one below a high-level jonin could have used such a jutsu, much less maintained it active for so long. Kakashi, we have a problem. I try to blink the flashes away by opening my eyes as soon as I turned on my Byakugan. The intense light from the person using the jutsu's chakra blinded me. Although I couldn't see it very well, I have a good feeling that it will be a major issue. What is it? There's a dome of chakra surrounding the place. It's pretty thick, and it extends until the edge of the clearing, just before the forest. I'm pretty sure it's a barrier. but whether it's used to prevent anyone from going in or a detection type of barrier, I can't be sure. That is a problem, Shikamaru. Did you get all of that? Troublesome. I raise an eyebrow in response to that. That is a problem, Shikamaru. Did you get all of that? How was I unable to hear it all? We had decided that the sooner I kept my communication line open, the quicker I could relay orders and receive information. Even though the question is dumb, I do my best to respond. Troublesome. Actually, this is becoming much more problematic than I had anticipated. We're in this mess because of Naruto and his luck. I spend some time scratching my head in an attempt to come up with a different strategy. Too many appear, and none of them are perfect. I let out a sigh and then take a seat in my thinking position to relax and concentrate on my meditation. I have to carefully and clearly consider this. As my body relaxes and my mind clears, I take a deep breath and release it. Lee, get into the forest and try to catch a rabbit and one of any of its predators. Once you do, get back to Kakashi and wait for my signal. I know your microphone's down, so give me 2 clicks if you copy. Kakashi, once Lee get back, have him release the rabbit towards the fortress, then followed by the predator after a few seconds. During that time, can you try taking a peek at the barrier yourself? With your Sharingan, I mean? It's also pointless blinding Sasuke, although it might not be the best option. It's our only remaining option. 2 partially blinded subordinates are inferior to a half-blind Kakashi. Sai, try to get a message across to Naruto that there's going to be a change of plans. Could you do something with that technique of yours to keep relaying a message to him in a way that it'll leave him once we get the message across? It's possible. I'll draw one up right now. I open one eye to look down the road, hoping to spot any indications that the convoy is approaching. Okay, thanks. Nothing yet, we've still got time. Lee's here. We'll be releasing the rabbit, followed by the fox at your go. Wow, he really is fast. Sasuke, take Neji and leave the area. Lee, Kakashi, once your animals have been released, retreat from that spot, but try to keep an eye on what'll happen to the animals. Okay. Roger. That's still waiting for your go. Give me a click when everyone's set. Go, Roger. As I wait for any positive news, I hold my breath. I could easily create hundreds of plans, plans within plans, and plans within plans, to respond to any circumstance or potential result. But if there are too many unknowns, the possibilities simply keep growing, making a workable solution seem unattainable. This is Sai. Message has been delivered. Waiting for next message to be relayed. Okay, just hold while we wait for further details. I can't stop thinking about all the possible outcomes, especially the negative ones, when I hear some static on the line. There's some static on the line. Is that you, Lee? That can't be good. Sai, Shino, I'm moving into their position to investigate. Hold and stay. Sorry about that. Kakashi. What happened? I shout, trying not to show my anxiety. I really hate being in charge of strategies. After letting loose the animals, I took a peek with my Sharingan. Neji was right, the light was awful. Very helpful. Anything else? I make an effort this time to avoid letting my annoyance show in my voice. I was squinting, but I was getting a good look at the barrier because of the chakra. Neji was right, it was dense, but anyway, the animals got through easily, but after a few minutes, they started to slow until they stopped at the same time that some of the enemy ninjas arrived near their spot. So it's a detection barrier as well as a barrier of genjutsu? That's not something a mid-level Jonin can do, I think. We think the same, but the weird part is how the enemy ninjas seem to be unaffected. Even though they can't see me, I respond with a nod. That is strange. Did you notice anything weird about the ninjas? Nope, the barrier was still around them, but it's like they aren't being affected by it. Does it look like they're shrugging the genjutsu off, or more like the barrier's leaving them alone? That's high-quality control for a high-quality technique. Looks like we're dealing with something more along the lines of what Tsunade-sama feared. After all, Sasuke, was there anyone from the Akatsuki who has this kind of jutsu? None of them comes to mind with regards to this jutsu, but it may be a subordinate of theirs. Subordinate? I thought the Akatsuki members you were told about were all that made up Akatsuki? That's true, but 2 of their members were recruited because of their network of connections. Aside from their strength and techniques, Sasori has a network of spies, while Kakuzu was part of the bounty hunting circle. In spite of myself, I smile. My mind creates a whole new set of plans, and this time, I have a smaller pool of higher quality plans because so many more pieces are falling into place. Shikamaru? Am I done with my Sharingan eye now? Right, sorry about that, Kakashi. You could stop using it for now, but once Naruto comes around, you're going to have to look at the barrier again, okay? Roger. For now, let's keep comm lines silent and open. Any new updates, immediately radio it and I'll contact you once I've decided on our next course of action. Given Naruto doesn't screw any of my calculations up. Leaning back on the trunk of the tree whose branch I've been hiding behind, I sighed to myself. I turned to face the road again, but the convoy is nowhere to be seen. Good, I've got a little more time to think. By the way, what was up with all that static? Kakashi? Yeah, I kind of forgot that Lee's microphone was busted. I was having him relay all of my reports. I drop my head and my hand catches my forehead. I begin to wonder why he was appointed as the operations commander. Right, because it's too troublesome for me to take the position. What a total drag. I scowl intently. This is the best plan I've ever thought of, but it's also the most desperate. After analyzing the advantages and disadvantages of every alternative plan I've considered, I conclude that this is the best course of action. I radio it in after letting out a sigh. Lee, I need you in your best behavior for this one, and when I say best behavior, I mean keep your mouth shut. A cautious, suspicious, even surprised voice asked, "What are you having him do?" The fact that it originated with Neji rather than Kakashi, however, shocked me. I'm going to have him infiltrate along with Naruto. I don't even know what to call it, I reply with a smile as I visualize a perplexed Neji. Ridiculous? Dangerous? Desperate? Insane? There are a lot of words you can use to call it? I know, but we're really out of options, and I think he has enough to make a henge, right? He says he does. Kakashi is translating for Lee because his communicator is broken. I make an effort and am able to avoid laughing at that. Good sigh. Inform Naruto that Lee'll be taking the place of the one he's sharing the cart with. Lee, get in there as quietly as possible and make it quick. I can see the convoy rolling in right now. What are you planning for him to do? Once inside, I'm going to have him disrupt the barrier by taking out the user. He may not be the best option for the task, but he's the only one that could slip in easier if they have another sensor aside from the barrier user. There's silence, and I'm sure they all agree. Lee, give me 2 clicks once you're settled inside. Once we get confirmation, have Naruto hurry up the convoy. He can do whatever he likes. Even in battle, I tend to be the patient one and my plans move slowly, but only if I'm facing my opponent one-on-one and have some knowledge of them. However, we can't afford to take things slowly and wait for things to fall into place when we're up against a small group, no matter how elite, and a group of unknown numbers and strength, because Naruto missed a few, and the enemy is locked inside a very well-guarded stronghold. Naruto's, whatever happens, approach will have to do for us. As I read the words that the ink has formed across my arm, I smiled to myself, partially due to the tickling sensation it is producing, but primarily as a result of the subsequent commands that Sai gave. Speed up convoy, your choice of method. I examine my available resources. A group of elderly men, not too old to be very weak but not too young to be in their prime, are assisting the wagons along. The goods are secured, tied down by rope, covered by a sheet that is also tied down by a rope. The wagons are nearly full, making them very heavy, and the path slopes downward, albeit only slightly. I have a willing accomplice. All right, let's get started. I whisper, hoping it's low enough that only we can hear. Lee, could you make one of the guys in front trip over? He nods a bit too enthusiastically, opening his mouth and then covering it with his hand. Huh, must have been ordered to shut up. Okay, same time as me. Once they trip over, I'm going to run in front and try to stop the runaway carts. You try and help out without attracting too much attention, okay? He nods angrily again. I lift a tiny stone, and he follows suit. I nod and toss my stone, timing it so the old man loses his balance, praying that his strength doesn't break any bones. He and Lee's target both fall sideways and away from the wagon. I yell a warning and dash to the front, gesturing for Lee to push the cart a bit. Get out of the way. They all turned to notice the reason for the yelling, but none of them heeded the warning. It was fortunate that I instructed Lee to push our cart. I said get out of the way, damn it. The message appears to have been conveyed by the bump from when our cart crashed and pushed the one in front of it. Naturally, Lee gave it more than a little push, so I had to run a little bit faster in the hopes that the smoke will hide everything. I leap in front of the carts and make 1,000 shadow clones. Even though we prepare for impact, some clones continue to exist. We are able to halt just before the turn that must be made in order to reach the enemy base. As the elderly men assist in securing the cargo, I let my clones vanish. Hey Kay, are you alright? What happened? We both tripped and suddenly, all the carts were crashing into each other. Is the cargo intact? I choose to ignore their yelling and smile up at Lee, who is jogging to rejoin the group. He is always grinning and striking his nice guy pose. I try to relax by wiping my forehead. That was fun. I half want to cut the fool in two, but my hand twitches. It's unbelievable that this Dobie not only defeated me, but also thoroughly destroyed the team I had taken my time to choose and put together. Although they weren't really on par with me, I was convinced of his insane strength by the ease with which he destroyed our team, defeated me, and managed to save us all from that Toby guy while also making his getaway while transporting us all back to Konoha. But after all of that, I'm beginning to think he was just lucky to display such foolishness that I've actually gotten weaker rather than stronger. I fight the urge to try to kill the Dobie again rather. I sigh resignedly and pinch the bridge of my nose. It was fortunate that the fool was able to avert the catastrophe he created before the guards outside the secondary gate could see them, and his shadow clones were actually concealed by the smoke from the technique and the dust from the road. Unfortunately, the guards were still alerted to the disturbance. They're clear, but 2 ninjas are still coming to investigate. Sasuke, if a chance presents itself, get those 2 under control with one of your genjutsus and see if you can pry something useful from them. If not, let's see if we can use them to help us out. I look surprised and raise an eyebrow. I was aware that he was an excellent strategist, but he typically takes things slowly. It was unusual for him to respond to a report right away, let alone share my viewpoint. During a group exercise, he is well known for not micromanaging and typically letting Kakashi take over field command. I leave my position to approach the group and get out of the guard's line of sight. By this point, Naruto is likely making a dumb excuse while speaking with the enemy ninjas. At that moment, one of the elders rushes in the direction of the ninjas while drawing a knife from his robe. One of them secures him by gripping his arm at an uncomfortable angle behind him, holding him back and dragging him to the ground. Must be Lee. Before they both approach the pinned man, one of the enemy nins waves back to the guards to indicate that it's nothing. I move in because I recognize a good opportunity. Only the ninjas see me land on one of the carts, and the enemies turn to face me. Perfect. The fact that I learned a few things about my life from being pulled by the Dobie back to Konoha, and that those insights led to the activation of my Mangekyo, was one of the reasons it turned out well. Tsukuyomi. I haven't mastered the Sharingan yet, having only recently unlocked the 2nd level along with the Tsukuyomi and the Amaterasu. At least I know enough fundamentals to get me at least an hour, but I can't create the illusion of multiple days that Itachi was able to. After quickly going through their memories, I find 2 people who would be ideal for assuming control of their will. I become a part of the illusion, where everyone sees a different person and is not connected to each other's thoughts. The only thing connecting them is the same thing that connects them to the illusion, which is me. I took Sasuke's original post after he moved in to gain a better understanding of the situation and to keep an eye on the guards. As soon as I'm in position, Sasuke jumps back into the trees, shielding his right eye with his hand. I wait for him to come over, and when he does, I see that he's really exhausted. I begin to ask, "What?" but before I can finish, he manages to squeak out a response between breaths. Sharingan. Despite the fact that he cannot see my expression, I set my lips into a grim line. All I can hope is that my eye conveys to him the gravity of the situation, particularly since I am fully aware of what he is concealing. We're going to have a talk about that once we get back. Though he still covers his eye, he finally begins to control his breathing. I start to give Shikamaru a report, but Sasuke stops me before my hand reaches the button that lets me talk into my microphone. I'll do it, just let me catch my breath and watch over them. I'm in complete shock at what he is doing to believe that he allows his pride to rule even in such a circumstance. Something to the extent of, "I'm the one who made the move, I'll be the one to report, I simply nod and shrug as he glances at me out of the corner of his left eye. What else should I have done? I can't believe he even tried that. It was my accomplishment, and he wasn't even going to let me report it in. I try not to grit my teeth at the thought, which makes me angry. It's like he's still treating me like a child. I test my right eye to determine the extent of the damage. After I've managed my breathing, my vision returns to normal after blinking a few times, but I had some trouble focusing. Once that is resolved, I radio Shikamaru. A little commotion with one of the escorts provided me the chance I needed. Moving in, I got them under one of my genjutsus. No need to inform them about Tsukuyomi. Good job. What did you find out? This base is under the Akatsuki's control. It's one of Kakuzu's side projects. Kakuzu's having some of his colleagues round up valuable weapons and items that they can auction off to the black market, or to any of the other villages. I'm not sure, but there was something else that Kakuzu was doing here, that only a select few are aware of, and those 2 were not one of them. That's quite a lot of information you managed to collect within the time frame you got. Like with the Tsukuyomi, there's no need to inform Itachi that he could have accomplished more in that brief period of time, or even significantly longer. I also have them under my control somewhat. As long as the illusion holds, I'm having them escort the convoy to get it moving faster. Good work. Notify me of anything that comes up. I turn to face Kakashi and observe how much more vigilant he is in my presence. I can't help but feel a little suspicious because of what he said earlier. He knows something about the Mangekyo. Prior to my time with Naruto, I had never experienced boredom while on a mission, but I've since learned more and more about what boredom is. I've always been able to keep boredom at bay when on missions, but I've discovered that it gets harder to control when Naruto is also on the mission. Additionally, I've been bored the entire time I've been waiting because Naruto is here since I also use my scrolls and ink for my jutsus. I don't use them to pass the time when I'm bored, so I chose to find another way to do it. I've been using the colored paint I had sealed away to paint a few of my traps around the small town annex's perimeter during the entire time I've been waiting. I guess I should give a report about it. This is Sai. I've covered the place around the town annex with traps of my own design. They're designed to be triggered by only enemy ninjas. I could go into explanation as to how they work if you want. That's okay anyway. Good work. Are the traps enough to cover for you? I understand his point, and I'm glad I don't have to battle boredom anymore. In particular, Naruto appears to have created an intriguing scenario that I failed to notice. They're tricky and specially designed so they can handle any enemy, even if they are of a high level. I've also scattered some traps that will support Shino-san's bugs should he need it. Roger, move up towards the other's location and be prepared to help them out then. I'm not interested in verifying his orders in any case. I'm on my way before he's finished distributing them. Okay. So Sasuke has two of the enemies under his genjutsu and thus under his control. Somewhat Lee is going to go in with Naruto, and Sai has laid out traps to cover his original post and is moving up to help us out. What are the chances of another opportunity to make it easier for us to come up? The Sasuke-controlled enemy ninjas then come to a halt at the forest's edge. When I turn to face Sasuke, I see that his brows are furrowed. He shakes his head, as if he's noticed me staring. The guards wave them in and I turn to see them moving once more. Don't tell me. I raise my headband and slightly open my Sharingan eye, squinting as much as I can to avoid blindness. Once more, shock nearly causes my eye to open wide, but I struggle to keep it closed. There's an opening in the barrier, along the path of the carts. From what I can see here, the barrier only covers outside of the walls, not inside. Think you can get inside safely then? Even if they have strong sensors in there, it'll be too late once we get inside the walls. Take the chance, then get under the carts and do your best to cover any of your traces once inside. It'll be like the original plan. Naruto gets the scroll, Neji'll scope out the place. Lee'll work on securing the hostages. Only difference is Sai'll be taking down the jutsu while you and Sasuke try and find the leader and see if you can extract more information from them. I'll be moving up to watch the gates. Let's just hope we take all of them by surprise and no one escapes. Sai shows up as soon as he has finished giving instructions. I nod in acknowledgement of his arrival. I have a suggestion. I turn to Sai and tell him to continue. I conceal all of you inside a scroll. That way it'll be a lot easier for all of us to sneak in, as the stealth will be left up to me. You can do that? Yes? Why didn't you suggest it earlier? Same goes with your traps? Earlier when we were planning everything out, all the intel we discussed came from Naruto. I didn't know the territory or the extent of the enemy's fortifications. I simply give him a nod. Long lectures are not in order. We're going to need to talk after this. I keep a close eye on him, but he's taking advantage of his root training by showing absolutely no emotion when we're all together. I radio the others, and we get ready to be sealed. First Naruto, then Sasuke, now even Sai. I've got a feeling I'm going to need to deal with Sakura later as well. Hopefully, I don't need to have a little lecture with Tenzo, because that would just be messed up. I knew I had made the right guess as soon as they saw me. They push me against the wall after banding together. I asked them not to remove the staff, but they did. I ask if they can give it to one of the elders because they mentioned that weapons are not permitted. Lee takes it on after they agree. Once that's resolved, they encircle me and force me inside. After completing their tasks, the ninjas remove the carts and send the others back outside. The person beneath one of the carts hasn't moved yet, and I'm at the end of my patience. They may be waiting for a distraction, but at the moment, I don't have much space. One of the adversaries seizes my left arm and gives me a violent yank, making me turn to face him. He has a kunai out and held high, ready to attack. It's strange, though, because I can see that the anger he displays on his face has disappeared from his eyes. His eyes actually give the impression that he is under genjutsu. That Teme. I feel the pain as the blade slashes through my skin, leaving a huge gash across my chest, and I grit my teeth as I allow him to hit me. To conceal the fact that the wound will be healing in a minute or two, I pretend to fall forward. I manage to make eye contact with the person hiding beneath the carts as I turn to face them, and I realize it's Sai. I turn to face Lee after he shakes his head at me. He nods that he understands, then rushes back and slams into the ninjas surrounding me, getting down on his knees to pretend that he's waking me up. Sai is no longer beneath the carts when I turn to face him. Looks like he's moved. That's good. Hopefully, the next issue will resolve itself, just like the last one did. As though in response to my prayers, the ninjas order the other elders to return to the small town and yell for Lee to help me stand up and make my way to the tower with Lee's assistance. I get to my feet and look back in time to see the gate close. Finally, time for some excitement. I'm in a strange place as soon as I open my eyes. Fortunately, Sai addressed our unasked query. We're inside the spiral tower. Lee's outside along with Naruto, and last I heard is they're headed in here as well. Lee, what happened? How'd he manage to stay inside? The distraction provided worked well enough for me to move out from under the carts and at the same time, securing a way to keep Lee inside while disguised. At this point, he is looking at Sasuke. I look into his eyes and raise an eyebrow in inquiry. Last command I was able to leave to one of the two nins I had under my genjutsu was to slash someone. As part of our distraction, I'm guessing it worked. It did. The nin slashed someone, namely someone we know who is under a disguise. I keep a close eye on Sasuke, and whenever I notice the corner of his lips curl into a tiny smile before vanishing once more, I can't help but worry. I sigh and scratch my head, letting it go for the time being. Neji, can you use your Byakugan in here? The barrier is only around the walls going outside. I could, but there's still going to be a bit of blinding on my part because of my range. Is there any way for you to pull that range back? He looks at me like I'm crazy. I guess this is the first time anyone has requested that they reduce the Byakugan's range in all the years that it has been in use. I could try. I interrupt him before he can express his reservations. Get to it then. Instead of glaring at me, Neji just looks at me blankly, which makes me laugh. I convey my feelings to him by smiling. I'm barely able to avoid glaring at him. Despite my best efforts, it's a little offensive to tell me to get to it, and to ask me to reduce my range. I ignore his smile and concentrate on my work in order to pull the Byakugan back without being blinded by the barrier outside. It will be best to slow the extension of my vision because once it is activated, our eyesight quickly reaches its maximum range. I slowly activate my dojutsu while controlling my chakra and visualizing the effect. Byakugan. It was much more difficult than I had thought to bring it to a crawl as my visual range gradually increases. I maintain my focus when I get to the walls. I move in a circle to see how much control I have. Adjusting my visual range while moving around is much more difficult, but it was still feasible. The gates are closed and the barrier's been put back into place. Lee and Naruto are headed towards this place surrounded by 4 nins 3 floors up. There are 6 large chakra signatures with their chakra being channeled into some kind of device. I think there are around 50 people underground. Definitely the hostages. No guards down there, so it'll be faster getting them free. And that's strange. My vision is improved in a different way. By reducing the range, I can zoom in and out on any object in my field of vision, and all other details are much more visible. I'm reminded of one person's accounts by this effect. Is this what Hinata-sama did? And I give the silver-haired a quick look before returning to the issue I've been facing. I can't see anything in or even around a certain area with my improved vision due to magnification. Whatever it is, I can't even see it. I can't see the top of the tower. Is it obstructed by the barrier? No, it's just not there. It might be best to check it out. Okay then. Lee, were you able to catch all of that? Give me 2 clicks to confirm. Good. So Lee goes underground and take care of the hostages. Naruto will check out the top of the tower since Neji didn't mention seeing any scroll within the fortress. Sasuke, Sai, you'll be with me. We'll take care of the barrier users. Neji, I'll be going with Lee underground, and then we'll be waiting for the chance to escape. I can't move and adjust my Byakugan's range at the same time. Aside from the 6 upstairs, there are 22 ninjas total. 2 of them are still under Sasuke's genjutsu, but they're starting to stir. They're the ones left in charge of escorting Lee and Naruto to the dungeons. 5 pairs are on patrol along the walls and 2 pairs on each gate, and the last 2 are checking the supplies. I'll keep track of their movements and notify you of any changes. Sounds good. Let's wait for the 2 to arrive. Sasuke, deal with your puppets and this time, use a normal genjutsu. I continue to watch with my Byakugan until Lee and Naruto show up, wondering how Hinata-sama was able to use this Byakugan feature without lowering the range. Perhaps that's the last one of them. I watch as Sai shuts off the last of the ninjas, turning on the device and the jutsu. After explicitly instructing the user not to use his Tsukuyomi, we managed to subdue him using Sasuke's Sharingan genjutsu, and it was entertaining to see him remove his mask of indifference as his shock was visible on his face for a brief moment. Disrupting the barrier user was much easier than we had initially imagined. We had assumed that we would be able to sneak into the room and take all 6 of them by surprise, but upon closer inspection, we discovered that they were all inanimate, alive but motionless, as if they were frozen in a state of meditation. The 5 that served as the power source for the machine, the jutsu, or possibly both, were easily removed, but the tricky part was the one who was unquestionably the owner of the barrier technique. We didn't want to move him at first because we were worried that improper tampering with the machine might cause him to have a mental backlash, but after a few minutes of Shikamaru giving us instructions and a few descriptions of the machine, We had her separated from the machine, and under Sasuke's genjutsu the entire top half of his head was locked under a huge helmet-shaped machine, with wires sticking out of it connecting him to the large machine he was sitting on. I watch with a sense of familiarity as Sasuke examines the machine, all of them sealed up by Sai, and, unable to control my curiosity, I ask him the question that has been bothering me. What do you think of the machine? Then, it looks like what one of the departments within T&I is working on. A machine that helps in spreading out jutsus. Were we going to use a machine like this for any particular jutsus? He gives me a quick glance before exhaling deeply. The only jutsu T&I was intending on using this for is with the Yamanakas, in hopes of replacing radios and communicators. I give that plan my nod of approval. It's a great idea, for one thing, because it might enable faster communications without worrying about being tapped or intercepted. It's a pretty ambitious machine, and it will give Konoha an advantage over other villages, but there's a problem. Did T&I create this machine, or was it a copy of someone else's design? It was created by Konoha's Anbu, combining the theories of T&I with the technological advancements and innovations of the Tech Research and Development Division. It appears that Sasori has quite a network of spies because the plans have leaked out so much that they actually have a working prototype that might be the same as the one we have back at headquarters. Furthermore, Orochimaru lacked the blueprints necessary to develop this type of technology. That doesn't sound good for us with a spy so deep in our ranks. No, Konoha's secret is safe. It wasn't particularly surprising that Orochimaru wasn't interested in this type of technology. Are you able to disassemble it? I don't work for T&I as a technician. I belong to the division of Ibiki. However, if I worked in tech R&D, I would advise against handling such a delicate machine roughly. Did you know about this, Shikamaru? No way. Since it's still within our Fire Country territory, I was considering using this as an outpost and backup base for our barrier team if the goal is to preserve the area. That makes sense. I see we ought to tidy up this place. The tower is rocked by a huge explosion before I can finish. Unpleasant news. Naruto used his Rasengan and all of its variants to blast through the seals in an attempt to reach the summit of the tower. I begin rubbing my head in an attempt to prevent the headache from getting worse. Neji. Sai. Quickly get up here. I turned to face the young man who was called for and gave him my go-ahead. So much for keeping the place intact. So much for planning to prevent complete destruction of the place. As soon as I heard Neji's report, I cursed. Shino. I'm on my way. My confidence in Shino's abilities is well rewarded because as soon as I step on the wall to start scaling it, he arrives in time to catch up to me. We reach the top at the same time. Sai radios us all in. I jumped from the tree I've been hiding in, not bothering to check whether he was already behind me or not, knowing that his speed has improved since being promoted to Anbu Captain, so I don't need to worry about him falling too far behind. I find the scroll to finish this mission after breaking the seals with a little assistance from some Rasengan, and when I look around, I see a lot of other interesting looking items. Too bad they won't fit in the scroll. I get an idea at that point, and I shout as I make my way to pick up the scroll I was hired to retrieve. Sai. Quickly get up here. An enemy ninja leaps me and puts me in a chokehold from behind before I can get the scroll through. He's powerful. I let my chakra flow into my muscles, letting it wrap around and cover my arms as well. Years of fighting alongside Sakura-chan got me picking up a few fighting tips. My eye twitches as my heart feels like it's being squeezed to death. I grit my teeth and focus on getting out, letting my hinge drop. With the added strength of the chakra flowing through my muscles and wrapping around my arms, I easily force the enemy's arms apart and throw him to the side. He leaps off the floor and positions to strike, but I'm already on him before he gets a chance to react. With all of my weight and strength in it, add the chakra enhancement, I punch him square in the chest and send him crashing through the window, taking a good size of the wall along with him. I fight the urge to laugh. It's not going to look good if Sai finds me laughing after punching a person clean through a wall sealing up the scroll. I suddenly remember a small detail about where we are. I run straight towards the broken wall in time to see the guy the first just punched stand up and dust himself off like he just tripped and didn't fall from a couple of floors up, with all the other ninjas surrounding him and looking up at me. I couldn't contain my laughter, and I laugh, and laugh, and laugh as I channel my chakra into every muscle. No, every part of my body, enveloping myself in my chakra in the same way that a chakra cloak envelops me when I use the Kyuubi's chakra. I laugh even harder. I'm not sure why, but the thought of the Kyuubi just made me laugh more. I bend over and hold my sides, fighting for every breath as I laugh. My eyes well up with tears, and the pain in my stomach is already intolerable, so I fight to regain control. I begin to calm down, but I still struggle to catch my breath. Naruto. I turn to face the voice and see Sai standing there, staring at me with worry and concern. The strange sight makes me laugh again, but I control myself and take another deep breath to calm myself. Hi. Sai, there are a lot of interesting items here that may be helpful or that someone else is searching for. If you think they might be important, could you please seal them up so we can return to Konoha? I look down and see that the enemies are still looking up at me, but at least they are armed. I try to get a weapon out of the many seals under my cloak, but I stop myself. I feel great, but I feel stronger. Perhaps I ought to laugh more. I feel like I can do anything. The fun is about to begin, and I crouch down, ready to lunge and send myself straight towards the enemies below, smiling as I stretch and bend my neck from side to side and enjoy the cracks and pops from my bones and joints. You better look outside and watch Naruto. Even before Sai radioed us in, Kakashi and I had been staring out the window. We knew something was wrong the moment we heard Naruto laughing, and then we felt it, the chilling, foreboding feeling that I've experienced twice, the first time being at the Valley of the End and the second time being when Naruto defended us from Tobi. I was able to visualize what caused this feeling before I could see it with my own eyes. Is that Kami? I can't blame Kakashi for not finishing his question, but even I find it hard to talk because my throat feels dry. Yeah. There were no words for this kind of situation, so we didn't talk the entire time we watched the blonde go crazy. 9 tails of the Kyuubi's red chakra waved around behind Naruto, who was encased in his own blue chakra rather than the Kyuubi's all-encompassing red. This was not the Naruto they knew. He usually fights with a little more cunning, and a lot more shouting, swearing, and foolish tricks and antics that end up being one clever but poorly thought-out plan. They all watched in horror, amazement, and wonder as the blonde tore through the crowd of missing ninjas. They all felt that something wasn't right. There was no pain for him whenever he was like this, only fun, only enjoyment. He fought like a wild animal would. If said animal had claws and knew how to punch and kick, he ignored all wounds and blows he received, and he appeared to not even feel pain, only the rush of adrenaline, the thrill of the fight, and the excitement of defeating an opponent. And in the middle of all this joy, as he kicked, punched, scratched, and threw enemies left and right, he never once noticed the red chakra trailing behind him in the form of tails. He never once noticed that even if his attacks never physically reached the enemy, they still managed to hit them. He never once noticed how the blade of a sword used to block his nails would reflect a pair of eyes, one blue and one red, both with pupil slits. He never noticed his laugh or his growls. He never noticed much whenever he was in the heat of battle. He can't even recall how he used to fight before. He was only aware of the battle, the hunt, and the fight. They were all aware that Naruto was dealing with something, but he never made it public. They all made an effort to console him in their own unique ways since they were aware of his pain. The issue was that he would always avoid any type of company or, when he did, would be lost in thought. They all assumed he wanted some time to himself because he was never present when they spoke to him. Thus, they all stayed apart. Days passed while they waited, and then those days became weeks. He consistently accepted solo missions and turned down any that called for teamwork. Following that week in which he completed 5 missions in a row, the Hokage had finally had enough and buried Naruto's face deep within the impact-formed crater. He then became more approachable when he was with friends. He would smile much more and even start talking. They offered him counsel and consolation, and they believed they were successful because he consistently smiled with his toothy grin. However, they have no idea how he has mastered that phony smile. They have no idea how pretending to be happy had become as natural as blinking or breathing. They all believed that he was going to fully recover. They were unaware of his disintegration, which was only now verified, and they knew he was on the verge of losing it. I am not a mindless animal, and I'll never allow you to be one either. His laughter reverberated inside my cage, and I realized that he had lost control. Even the several Narutos outside my cage had begun to go insane, forgetting everything they were doing and acting irrationally. The only positive aspect of his slip was that it gave me an opportunity to connect with him, which I seized as soon as it presented itself. I didn't want to take over, I just wanted to try to numb all of his feelings. He would have taken me down with him on that path to insanity if I had attempted to challenge him for dominance. My power would have consumed his body if he had succeeded, but our minds would have been lost. He would have been a thoughtless, utterly powerful being. Yes, he would be uncontrollable, but he would also be unstoppable since he won't understand any commands. No seals or methods will be able to manipulate him or force him to do anything. He would be without anything. I tried to ease the pain he was experiencing, but it was too great. It was the kind of ache and pain that can be dulled down but won't go away, so I changed to something else. He wasn't in pain all the time. Sometimes his suffering is hidden beneath another emotion, such as the feelings he experiences during combat. He always went on solo missions primarily for that reason. Whatever the nature of the mission, he was going to battle it out with the other side. I seize that emotion and combine it with my own desire for combat. I take away his desire for blood and give him the pure joy of defeating an adversary, one less trauma to agitate his frayed psyche. I take away his desire to kill, and I make a concerted effort to swallow mine as I approach him gradually. I sense that adrenaline is drowning out all of his other feelings, so I intensify every time someone takes control and positions themselves as the alpha. I give him that wonderful, overwhelming feeling. The thrill of a good chase is what I give him. I also give him the excitement of the chase. He accepts everything I offer him and voluntarily lets me bury the other feelings. Our battle lust is all that matters. The battle, the rush, the adrenaline, the thrill, and the excitement are all that matter. Domination is the only thing that counts. Moreover, we finally reach a consensus. That's the first thing I can't go back on. I am certain that it will bind us together for the rest of his life, regardless of how archaic or wild it may be. I open my eyes and breathe a sigh of relief before realizing it. We weren't merely exchanging feelings, his body was with us. His senses are also sharpened to match mine in this shared body. We can tell that someone is coming when we hear a twitch of the ear and smell a scent in the air. It appears that the final adversary in front of us has also noticed them, as his body practically begs him to rush towards them. We both laugh out loud. This final one was the strongest of all, and the domination was nearly over. The pup punched him through a wall, but he was the only one left standing. We faint, and he runs directly in the direction of the new arrivals. We let the man go even though they're still a ways off. Even though the chase won't last long, it will be fun. The hunt may even be finished with the two new arrivals. We run away and start chasing after it because we can no longer stop ourselves. Shino, Kakashi, Sai, Sasuke, Lee, follow Naruto and keep an eye on him. Move, now. They all immediately moved to follow Shikamaru's instructions. Before they all climbed the wall, Shino jumped from rooftop to rooftop, and Sai, Kakashi, and Sasuke all jumped through the windows. Lee's speed allowed him to catch up to the others, but he had to run up a set of stairs before smashing down a door to get outside. Now that my Byakugan is free, I watch them all. I watch as Naruto leapt around the missing nin and jumped next to him, looking more like a predator playing with his prey before killing it, while the missing nin ran as fast as he could to get away. Neji, get up here, quick, we need to restrain all these guys as fast as we could. The less time we spend here, the more we could spend in dealing with Naruto. Bring the others up as well. Okay. I turn to face the group of people behind me and give them a thumbs up to move. I turn off my Byakugan and we all head up the stairs and out the door, saying, "Come on, you're all safe now." I discover that Shikamaru has all of the fallen missing nins in his shadow manipulation technique as soon as I step outside, in addition to the barrier user who is still dazed from Sasuke's genjutsu. I need you to use your gentle fist on these guys, block their chakra paths and prevent them from using their limbs, fingers, wrists, elbows, shoulders, toes, ankles and knees. I want them shut down. We'll tie them up after. I reactivate my Byakugan and begin working with the first missing nin, nodding. You guys, you're all safe now, and actually a lot safer than those outside. Get them to come here where we can watch over and protect you guys. I look around the crowd, but nobody is moving with fear gleaming in their eyes. They all simply gaze at Shikamaru. Shikamaru simply looks at them, his face displaying boredom. They stare for a few seconds before gradually regaining consciousness and moving. Shikamaru exhaled deeply as soon as they were outside the gates. He starts tying them all up after releasing the ones I'm done with. We work quietly and get things done fast. After waiting for a few more minutes, the locals show up. Shikamaru tells them that all of the supplies are theirs to use however they see fit and gives them instructions to explore the area and settle in as comfortably as possible. Their discomfort subsides, and they begin to move with much greater vigor. We jump up on top of the wall to keep watch after Shikamaru has closed the gates and moved all of the prisoners to the underground dungeons. Shikamaru, we've made contact. Shikamaru turns to face me at that moment, and I understand his question. I close my 360-degree vision and increase my range in a single direction by focusing my Byakugan. Two figures are standing close to Naruto and the others. Where I find them, I verify their identity by looking at their clothing before informing Shikamaru. Akatsuki. Sasuke then reports something else. Kakuzu and Deidara. Ku-Zu, Sama. I glance at the ninja who is pinned down by an unknown person on the ground. I've already told my masks to move as I turn back to face the blonde. What are you doing to my? I ask myself, pausing to find the appropriate term to characterize him. I might as well forego the flattery since he's been severely beaten and injured. I won't have any issues with him anytime soon. Subordinate? The blonde, who appears utterly insane and feral, simply smiles at me without responding. Hey, he's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, HN. I then released my masks from my body, allowing them to spread out behind me. I verify his identity by glancing at the blonde. Blonde hair, 9 chakra tails swirling behind him, seems like a perfect match. He seems different. Yeah, I thought so too. I couldn't say what though. HN. The Jinchuriki simply holds my subordinate down while smiling at us. Other chakra signatures catch my eye, but they're doing well to remain hidden. Aha! I can't believe you're so stupid, Kakuzu. I fight the impulse to murder Deidara since he is not immortal like Hidan. I am unable to express my rage toward him without risking the wrath of the man in the mask. I may not be convinced that he's the one calling the shots now, but I sure as hell won't try to question him. What is it? You don't realize it yet. The reason he seems different is because he's not wearing any orange, HN. I try to control the twitch in my eye, but it's coming. I grit my teeth and inhale deeply. He sighs in frustration. Why are you my partner again? Because Toba's punishing Hidan, don't you remember? He almost killed the Nibi Jinchuriki, so leader is locking him up for a while, HN. He gives me an inquisitive glance even though I'm not usually emotional. I can tell by the expression he's giving me at the moment he believes me to be a fool. I have to fight the urge to stab him in the chest once more. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm starting to miss Hidan. It took some time for me to realize that he was still in charge. Even though I was sharing the senses, I was only thinking about the action at the same time that he was, which is why I always thought I was the one moving. Additionally, even though we're pretty much in sync, I still think differently than he does, which may be a good thing because it keeps us both from going completely crazy. A memory awakens as he gazes at the blonde with the long hair. I pay attention even though I don't care that he remembers any specific person or occasion. I filter out the anger and hatred because I acknowledge them instead. I concentrate on how the blonde with the long hair escapes our grasp by using a clay bird instead. I try to use that as a trigger for him. Birds are good prey, but it's not fun when they fly away. He gets so excited that I'm caught off guard and have to exert more effort than normal to avoid drowning in it. At least we still have some kind of mental connection. He is so excited about this hunt that he no longer requires my encouragement. Rather, I allowed my animal instincts to overpower him, improving his reflexes and senses in the process. Then he starts to move. The brat gets in between them and slashes at their arms, or at least slashes the area where their arms should have been, too quickly for any of them to see, judging by their facial expressions. The brat's only target for clawing was their cloak sleeves. They both leapt away from one another and from him. Looking at them closely now, the blonde had his arm dangling from the front of his cloak, tucked in front of him, while the other had pulled his arms back, keeping them in a seal behind them. 4 masked monsters had advanced on us and began pelting us with various elemental jutsus. The brat dodges the fire technique, only to obstruct the water technique, which has fused with the lightning technique. The brat is forced to prepare for impact by crossing his arms in front of his face. My instinct is to move my tail to break the technique from behind by swiping at it, and I'm surprised when it does just that. So the brat has control of his body and I have control of the tails. Despite myself, I smile. I wouldn't be out of the fight completely. I begin to master all 9 of my tails after coming to that realization. The brat appears to have realized it too, as he begins to approach the blonde nin without noticing the final move that was directed at us. I disperse the jutsu and swipe at it with 2 of my tails, so he doesn't have to worry about it. We get ready to attack the blonde, who has already produced his clay bird and is riding it. When it is attacked by a swarm of insects, it's simple to deduce that his technique simply had the chakra drained out of it. Given what the bugs could do, the brat's friends and sensei were already scurrying to catch the clay using blonde, looking in the direction of the bugs. But to us, it doesn't matter. We still have an excellent game. We turn to face the other nin, who has his hands already forming another jutsu as all 4 of his masked beasts surround him in a protective circle. Earth release. Earth spear technique. I laughed at his self-defense efforts as if that kind of thing could defend against the brat's assaults. However, he doesn't waste any time as his masked beasts charge in pairs toward us and his hands swiftly go through seals as the masked creatures unite to form 2 larger creatures with 2 masks next to each other as their faces. He slams his palm down in front of him. Earth release. Ground segment technique. Fire wind release. Wildfire technique. Water lightning release. Water spark bullet technique. While the beast to our right emits a massive flame that spreads quickly over a large area and the one to our left emits a sparking ball of water, the ground beneath us changes and splits into sections that rise and fall at different intervals. I think it was a good combination technique. The purpose of the earth technique is to throw us off balance so we can't dodge the other attacks, whereas the water lightning attacks us directly. The fire wind technique covers a wide area to block off our escapes. If we were just any opponent, it would be a good combination. I slice off a portion of the segmented earth with my tail, sending it hurtling toward the ball of sparking water. A cloud of dust is created by the explosion, and the brat speeds through it in the direction of Kakuza in front of him. I move my tails forward to create a protective cone. I then spin and rotate to get past the wall of fire and break open. After we've done so, after we land between the 2 animals, I slash at their bodies with my tails, having them horizontally, and then the brat charges in the direction of the nin. Despite his best efforts, he was too slow to get out of our way. The brat effortlessly rips through his pitiful earth armor, sustaining a slash across his chest before we even touch down. We land on one foot with our back to him due to the force of the movement, but the brat is unfazed. He takes a little leap, twists his waist, and puts his flying foot into the fool's chest, sending him hurtling through a few trees. However, I could feel the heat and hear the crackling sound of various jutsus coming from behind. While we were still in the air, the brat is aware of them as well, but he is unable to dodge because he hasn't landed yet. We pull away from the line of fire as I use my tails to cling to the closest tree. The brat looks up at our assailant after landing on his feet on the tree's trunk. Two of those beasts had vanished, leaving only one with 4 masks. We turn to face the spot where I cut the 2 beasts in 2. Leaving only a few back tendrils of some kind of thread, I use my tails to slash at the beast's arms as an experiment. Seeing the limbs grow back, the brat jumps in front of it out of annoyance and gives it a roundhouse kick to the side, sending it flying sideways. It lands close to the idiot, who had just gained the ability to stand. He sends some of those black threads coming from his back towards us while glaring and attempting to reapply a fresh layer of armor because his old one was nowhere to be seen. Fool! The brat grabbed them with ease and gave them a violent yank, which sent our prey flying in our direction. The brat tenses and stretches his fingers as he pulls back his other arm. He pierces the man right through the chest, and for some reason, I don't even try to stop him. As he slides his arm out of the dead nin, the brat pushes him back and the threads fall limp and slack to the ground. The beast drops to the place where we were just as we jump away to avoid another of its jutsu. Curious, we watch as the beast snatches the threads from his back. The threads flew up to one of the masks, encircling it, passing behind and under it, then piercing it from underneath, clutching something that appeared to be alive and beating, as though the contact had given it new life. As it carries the beating object inside it, securely encased in the threads then retreat back to the dead nin. More of those black tentacle things emerged from the hole the brat had made in the dead man's chest, flailing wildly before clinging to one another and sealing the wound. Seeing a deceased person brought back to life using such a novel method was, to put it mildly, fascinating. He rises and begins to growl at us. "You bastard! You made me use up one of my hearts." Heart? That means that we can still kill him a couple more times? I can tell the brat has heard me because he smiles. As the broken mask and a few of those black threads fall to the ground beside the Kakuzu person, we simply stand there and watch him glare at us. He was just waiting for us to move, I suppose, and judging by the brat's increasing impatience, he knows it too. The brat, finally fed up with waiting, directs his chakra to his legs and vanishes in a sudden rush of energy, landing right in front of our victim, who is already ready to strike. I send my tails to spear through the masked beast, piercing the body and slashing away some of the threads as he finishes his swing and launches our prey into the air once more. Unfortunately, as more threads fall from the beast's body, one of my tails unintentionally pierces through one of the masks during the brat's motion, destroying it as the second heart dies. The beast convulses and somewhat shrinks. The beast is kicked and flies in the direction of its master. I grab a big chunk of the mask and give it to the brat. The brat gladly takes it and begins to move in the direction of our prey. I hear some nice pops and cracks as I stretch my back and crane my neck. It's a good thing my earth spear technique gives me a good layer of protection, otherwise I would have had some broken bones by now. I get back up and look around me. 1. My earth heart's already been taken out, so I can't use the earth spear technique as well as I would like. I snarl in annoyance. 2. The brat's too fast for me to even see. 3. The brat's attacks are too strong for the earth spear to take, even when I had my earth heart. 4. I don't think he's even using his Jinchuriki transformation thing yet. I recall what that Toby person said after the leader passed away. The Jinchuriki had been out of control at that point, and the leader had already defeated up to 8 tails. Toby added that the host and Biju didn't appear to have reached a consensus at that point, suggesting that the metamorphosis wasn't yet complete. I recall the small number of Jinchurikis we have already engaged in combat with. Given that her transformation was precisely as described in the rumors about the Hachibi Jinchuriki, the Nibi Jinchuriki most likely had some sort of connection to her Biju. I can only draw one conclusion because Toby provided precise details about the brat's transformation when he reached 8 tails and because it differs from the Nibi's transformation during our battle with her. 5. I have no idea what kind of transformation the brat's under. I reject the notion that it is some sort of metamorphosis in which the two continue to support one another despite their lack of understanding, because that seems like a concept that Hidan will consider, which is just a dumb idea. I can feel something approaching quickly, so I move to the side just in time to keep the other masks from colliding with me. I glance in the direction we came from and see the brat approaching us nonchalantly while holding what looks to be a toy in his hands. The brat brings it up to cover half of his face, and my eyes narrow as I realize what that thing was. As the dust settles and my suspicions are confirmed, I turn to face my other masks. Okay, 6. My water heart just got destroyed. I snarl in exasperation, wondering why I failed to notice that it was gone. I conclude that it may have happened simultaneously with my being sent flying. I think of my remaining hearts and get ready for my final tactic. As I complete my technique, the brat just watches me with that crazy smile of his. I'm already furious with the brat, and I use a few words from Hedon's extremely small vocabulary because of his arrogant smile and demeanor. Fucking brat, I'm going to fucking kill you. Fucking brat, I'm going to fucking kill you. Large tentacles made from those threads emerge from his body as soon as he stops yelling. Swaying and waving around him, I use one of my tails to slap away the 3 tentacles he extends towards us. As he launches additional tentacles in our direction, his hand moves quickly with seals. Fire wind release. Wildfire technique, lightning release, lightning trident. The lightning jutsu emerged from his fingers pointing at us, and the wind-fire combination emerged from the masks on his shoulders. However, as the wind-enhanced flame spreads out towards us, the lightning technique is obscured. Time to move, Kit. Although it won't be much fun, I'm confident I can defeat all of his strategies. The brat runs straight for our prey. After circling the big wall of fire, I slash at the tentacles with my tails as more are thrown at us. Our prey appears to have planned it out because his punch lands on the brat's side first, sending us bouncing on the ground. The brat approaches our prey's face and begins his punch just in time to protect the brat from the tentacles. I build a dome around its lying form. As soon as the brat gets to his feet, I spin my tails to break the dome and push back against the tentacles that are attempting to pierce it. I sense the tentacles approaching as we hear the footsteps. The brat turns to face our prey and is already approaching him when I beat them away again. The brat lands just in front of him, feeling the kick deep in his gut, and the opponent stops abruptly, spinning as he raises his leg. We sense his hand as he seizes the brat's head, and I aim my tails directly at him, intending to puncture both his masks and his body. When the tentacles strike from the side, my tails are deflected and either miss him or strike him in non-essential areas. He lifts the brat off his feet and buries a fist in his stomach. When I pull them out for another blow, my attack is paused by the shock of the attack, and he uses the moment to throw us at a tree. He launches another barrage of techniques as soon as we're in the air. Lightning release, burst stream, fire release, flame destruction, wind release, vacuum missile. As I formed a shield with my tails in front of the brat, shielding him from the onslaught of the 3 attacks, I didn't care how his techniques looked. They are merely an annoyance when the attack lands in 3 different locations, but the tentacles abruptly attempt to pierce through where the techniques strike. As I crack open the shield, I growl and thrust some chakra forward, sending the tentacles back and spreading the techniques. I give our prey, who appears to have been cornered to fight back with such annoyance, a glare of frustration, but I can feel the brat's lips opening into a smile after coughing up some blood. He straightens up. I hate to say it, but I'm enjoying the fight just as much as the kid. As the brat's blood starts to boil, and my chakra bubbles as it rises up within me as well, the thrill of the kill becomes unbearable. The hunt's finally gotten interesting. Kid, don't disappoint me. I prepare his body by supplying it with more chakra from within. I direct my chakra towards his nose, eyes, and ears, honing and improving them to match mine. I give you my senses and my instincts, my words. My chakra makes his teeth and nails grow even longer and sharper than before. I give you my fangs and claws. I give you my strength, speed, and reflexes, I say, sending my chakra through his muscles to reinforce his strength. In payment, give it to me. Give me the thrill of the kill. Give me the enjoyment out of completing the hunt. Break him, break him, break him. As I watch the brat change, I raise an eyebrow. The changes that occurred were not the usual transformations of a Jinchuriki. Just as his previous state had been, the red chakra began to creep up towards his body as the 9 chakra tails began to bubble, but the blue chakra cloak resisted and kept it from fully encasing his body. I make the decision to use this time to allow my threads to begin burying themselves in the ground and spreading out over the space between and surrounding us. I watch intently as my threads begin to work, a little intrigued by this strange metamorphosis. But the red chakra finds a way around, or rather, over, the blue chakra cloak, no matter how hard it tries. In specific locations and areas of the brat's body, the red chakra adds a second layer of the chakra cloak on top of the blue one. Chakra shrouded his hands, creating huge clawed hands, and the same was true for his feet. The brat appears to have been wearing some sort of arm and leg guards because the red chakra is also wrapped around his arms and legs. Lastly, a red chakra mask appeared on his face, resembling a snout that extended from his chin to his nose. The red chakra continued up to the top of his head, where the shroud of chakra formed fox-like ears. The 9 tails of chakra behind him, however, had gotten bigger than before and appeared bushier and fluffier, which was the biggest change I could see. I observe with mild amusement until the brat's abrupt chakra surge hits me. I begin a fresh volley of jutsus while narrowing my eyes. He's coming. Break him, break him, break him. I can almost hear the Kyuubi screaming inside my head right now. I feel his chakra rushing through me as I flex my fingers. Despite my best efforts to resist, I sense that the Kyuubi isn't attempting to take control. As strange as it sounds, the Kyuubi is voluntarily and consciously giving me his chakra, which gives me his strength. I take what he has to offer as soon as I understand that the enhanced senses give the impression that my nose, ears, and eyes have been closed my entire life. The increased speed and reflexes cause my fingers to twitch with anticipation. I believe that what the Kyuubi has been saying about us is accurate because of the strength I can feel in my muscles. I'm nowhere near his level. I absorb everything, but I can't help but exercise caution. I still have a part of my mind that will prevent me from going over, even though I enjoy every sensation and thrill I get from this type of high as well as the enjoyment we get from the battles we have because of the power. I can feel that part gnawing at the back of my mind, worrying about how I'm feeling. For the most part, I ignored it, but now I reach for it. I'm afraid I won't be able to turn back if I follow the Kyuubi's example this time. I look up at the sky and yell obscenities. I snarl at the brat sitting next to me as he watches his teammates defeat Deidara with a bored expression on his face. I snarl in almost every type of rage, including frustration and annoyance. Bastard. He gives me that bored look for a moment, then returns his attention to the fight. I can't fucking believe that this asshole beat me like that. I sent him all of my jutsu, including kunai, shuriken, and nearly every threat I had, and he simply blocked them all. Even though I had plans that would have been sufficient to defeat a typical Jinchuriki and had punched, kicked, and thrown jutsu until my chakra reserves had dropped dangerously low, he still broke my arms and legs, destroyed my extra hearts, and threw me around like a rag doll. And what pisses me off more is how he fucking managed to scare me. Rewind. He pushes me against a tree while holding me by the throat. He has that mad smile on his face and that crazy glint in his mismatched eyes. I quickly evaluate my remaining resources. All my extra hearts have been destroyed, along with my arms and legs. Chakra is dangerously low, and my body's stitched up too much at this point. No way to fight back, unless I want to die. I prepare to give up, but my rage simply prevails. After all, if someone were in my shoes, being held up by a crazy person with that smug smile on his face, I doubt they would consider me foolish regardless of whether the remaining threads in my body were preventing my body from collapsing. I was prepared to use them. He must have sensed it because the brat moved. He purposefully missed my head by a few inches, if not less, when he punched the tree trunk behind me. When I realized that I had only been spared at the last minute once in my life, my heart stopped for a moment. When I realized the attack was coming too late, but it quickly resumed and started beating erratically. I swallowed the lump in my throat with ease, but I was unable to get rid of the fear of what would happen next. He whispered in my ear, leaning close. Don't push it. There was a hiss to it, but there was also a trace of joy. I'm genuinely terrified for my life when he leans back to meet my eyes. As a missing nin, I've participated in numerous murders, tortures, threats, and interrogations throughout my life. I have witnessed the expression in the eyes of those who take pleasure in torture, murder, and both. I've seen what happens when someone purposefully conceals or displays that particular emotion in their eyes. I've even seen people attempt to mimic that appearance in an attempt to frighten their victims. However, his eyes did not resemble any of those. His eyes showed a mix of insane excitement to murder me and self-control to spare me. It's not the same as wanting to murder someone but abstaining from doing so to obey commands. This one involved a strong desire to murder me but also a determination to spare me. Those eyes showed no hesitation. He won't back down from anything he decides to do. It's something that defies logic and frightens me in ways I've never experienced before. Finish the flashback. What the heck are you planning anyways? I'm not usually the talkative type, but it's much more unusual for me to be ignored and dismissed while lying down helplessly next to an enemy. He shrugs and gives me another bored look before turning to see Deidara being overrun by his allies. I just thought that Ba-chan might be interested in your thread thingies. Maybe she could use it for medical research or something. I let out a defeated sigh. He was obviously bored with me, so there was no use in conversing with him. Instead, I decide to watch the imminent demise of one of our group's most obnoxious annoyances, taking slight satisfaction in the fact that his fight appears to be far more one-sided than mine. Hey, too bad it isn't me killing the bastard. A thought then occurs to me, and I can't help but smile. If they want to study my threads for medical research, then they'll be keeping me alive. Too bad they won't find out much since it's an effect of that forbidden technique that I stole. As the Konoha Nin battled Deidara, I noticed something. They were attempting to apprehend him rather than kill him. Maybe I could get a chance to take his heart later on.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.